Narcissism is a serious personality disorder. People suffering from this disorder are completely devoid of empathy. However, they are people who, in order to fit into our society, must pretend to have empathy and conscience. They disguise themselves so well that it can be very difficult to recognize such a person at first sight. It takes getting to know such a person very well in close relationships and being in them for a long time to see their true colors. People on the narcissistic spectrum see value in people only because of what they can get from them. They see no other value in them unless they provide them with resources, material or otherwise. Value for many narcissists is, for example, living in the spotlight, being on a pedestal either in their environment or in a broader aspect. Narcissists do not seek unconditional love or have a deeper emotional and spiritual life. Nevertheless, narcissists can be found everywhere, in every social group, and thus in spiritual environments. It is still unknown exactly what causes severe narcissistic disorders. It is thought to occur in childhood, when children are neglected by adults, or even when pathological events occur. Narcissism is also linked to so-called mirror neurons, which such people have fewer of than others. However, it is worth noting that not everyone who had a difficult childhood or even narcissistic parents become narcissists themselves. There is a lot that can be said about narcissists. It's a very deep topic, not just in the context of twin flames. However, this reading focuses on the relationship between twin flames and narcissists. Wherever there are twin flames, we can expect there to be at least a few daffodils. Why? Because twin flamers, although they often don't realize it, are a great resource for narcissists. These people stand out for their personality. They are most often good-natured people who care about the good of others and value family values. Twin flames are extremely sensitive and decent people. This is an ideal prey for narcissists, who immediately notice in such a person opportunities for themselves. They appear in the life of twin flames in the form of lovers and partners, husbands, wives, but very often also, for example, friends and family members, because they benefit from it. There are various situations in which you may mistake Narcissus for a twin flame. For example, the person you mistake for a twin is a narcissist and has nothing to do with the spiritual process. If the person who is your true twin flame exhibits narcissistic behavior, it does not mean they are a narcissist. Narcissistic behavior can be cured and completely eliminated from the relationship. So, can a true twin flame be a narcissist? The first case, in my opinion, is somewhat related to the phenomenon of the false twin flame. The beginning of a relationship with a narcissist resembles a fairy tale. When the narcissist finds a victim, he tries his best to charm her. It turns out that you are the perfect couple, you like the same things, you start dressing alike and doing everything together. You fall in love with each other and even go to the bathroom together. Quite popular in our culture, the topic of soulmates comes up very quickly. There is a popular belief that when you meet someone like this, miracles happen immediately, because that's where most romantic movies end. They lived happily ever after. The rainbow comes down from the sky to earth, and we feel like we're on the Titanic at sunset. But true love has nothing to do with that. Since most people like to be adored, it's very satisfying, and many fall for it. Problems start very quickly. In just a few weeks, they begin to undermine and disrupt the idol. The narcissist man, not the twin flame, starts to show his claws and slowly take control of someone's life, most often trying to humiliate and discredit the person, even if a few minutes earlier he promised a wonderful life together. Sometimes it comes down to physical violence, although the narcissist is above all a master at destroying people with white gloves, so that not a trace remains. However, the one who remembers the catching phase, adoration from the very beginning of the relationship, does not see or does not want to see this and puts on rose-colored glasses. Such a person is so focused on their other half that they continue to stay in the relationship. Twin flames, as highly sensitive people with high morals, often cannot expect proper care from family and friends, so they crave compliments and words, even if the person thinks they want to hear them, which they don't. They desperately seek love and so become easy prey for narcissists. Then, remembering the phase of falling in love at the beginning of the relationship, they really hope that this adoration will return. And more often than not, when things go badly and they want to leave, they get assurances that everything will come back and be as before. As it is not hard to guess, once the narcissist is convinced that the person believes their assurances, they revert to their previous toxic behavior. Why? Because they don't feel the least bit sorry for that person. They don't even think about changing for her or him. They don't care about improving the situation at all, only about preserving their assets and sources of advantage that they don't want to lose. At some point, usually when a relationship moves into a serious phase, that is, a marriage is arranged or a child is born, and the narcissist feels that she no longer needs to try because the other person is attached to him, her forever, the masks fall off. Narcissists stop pretending to ever talk about love or any deeper feelings. They are convinced that the other person won't leave anyway. It turns out that they aren't as passionate about the same things as their partner or anything else as they originally claimed to be, to prove the concept of soulmates. And in many cases, it looks like this. A twin flame will have a huge fear of breaking up such a relationship. Sometimes this stops it for many years. No wonder, because it is better not to mess with a narcissist. He will definitely take revenge. Leaving a narcissist is very difficult, and you need to realize this too. A narcissist will do anything to make life difficult for his former partner. As for the second case, you need to realize that each of us has narcissistic behavior to some degree. This does not mean that we ourselves are narcissists. In the case of twin flames, the male aspect often exhibits narcissistic behavior. This is due to a strong fear of feelings that he cannot handle. Unlike the narcissist who has no feelings, here the feelings are so strong that they are difficult to handle. Therefore, the immature masculine aspect will engage in hurtful and narcissistic behavior until it learns to deal with feelings. Let's also take into account that twin flames, like all humans, tend to unconsciously adopt certain behaviors. If a twin flame is involved with a narcissist in some way, he or she may adopt some of his or her manipulative behaviors. One of these, of course, is what is known as gaslighting. This technique involves creating reality. Very often, in contacts with the twin flame, it is unknown what is true and what is not. For example, after a drunken night, when it seems that feelings are mutual and deep, such people may say, "It didn't happen, your feelings are a mistake, you made a mistake, you see it wrong, it just seems so." I think everyone knows this. Then we start to doubt our feelings and ask ourselves, was I wrong to see that this person has feelings for me? Maybe it's really just sex, and I believed or trusted that it was something deeper. What if he just wants to use me? If your twin flame is saying these things, it is highly likely that he or she is in a state of deep hypnosis and illusion. Of course, for a true flame, this is very painful. However, it is worth remembering that these people are very confused. They probably do not know what is true and what is not, what to believe. It is very easy for them to confuse true love with something else. Another narcissistic behavior that twin flames can exhibit is deliberately creating and provoking conflict. This is due to a strong sense of insecurity. She feels she must initiate conflict in a controlled manner because she is afraid that unforeseen situations will arise and she won't be able to handle them. He wants to control what you argue about. This is typical behavior of someone who has been under the influence of a narcissist for a long time, because narcissists behave very similarly. In the case of the twin flame, it's more out of fear that if things are too good, then things are bound to go wrong, because life with a narcissist is never peaceful, and resentments appear when you least expect them. And maybe even when things seem to be going well, the narcissist does this intentionally. So a person who has experienced narcissistic abuse is never sure if everything is okay, if something will happen, if conflict will arise. Such a person will cause the storm himself to avoid suffering and possible offenses. So after all, can a true twin flame be a narcissist? Anyone who knows anything about twins and narcissists can conclude that this is impossible. You must be an empathic person to participate in this process, but you must also have a conscience and a spiritual life that narcissists do not have. At the heart of this process is unconditional love, which the narcissist cannot feel and is completely unaware of. Sometimes narcissists have some psychic abilities that allow them to manipulate energy, but more often than not, they use them to ensure their success and destroy their enemies. This is why they are downright dangerous, and it completely contradicts the idea of twin flames coming here to raise the vibrations of the earth. However, there have been a few people in my history who were blatantly narcissistic, though of course not realizing it, yet claimed to have their real twin flames. They may be lying, or there is a possibility that they are narcissistic, that is, egotistical, twin flames. But what purpose could this serve? I believe that everyone born on Earth, including narcissistic twin flames, such as their partners, friends, and family members, come here for a reason. We have many common issues to work on, and they help us evolve, help us discover and see what true love is and is not. But being here in these circumstances is also a chance for the narcissists themselves. Even if the narcissist does not realize he is a narcissist, he is well aware that he is acting dishonestly and maliciously, Otherwise, he would not spend so much time and energy trying to cover up his actions and create appearances so that he would not be found guilty of wrongdoing and condemned. Narcissists have excellent powers of observation. They are keenly aware that something is wrong with them, and they know that they can change their lifestyle. When a narcissist meets his twin flame, he is given a chance to save himself. He gets everything he needs. He gets the keys to development and has everything: love, recognition, money. He also gets a chance for spiritual development and behavioral change. He gets this treasure, and he can choose, like everyone else, which side he's on. Will he engage in dark deeds? Will he sell his soul to the devil? Or will he jump at the chance to change? We can predict, judiciously, that in most cases he will be drawn to evil. But that doesn't change the fact that for a while he had a choice. If there are narcissistic, that is evil twin flames, they see it even more by analogy. This is a much more complex task, and I doubt it will be solved in one or even a few incarnations. But I tend to believe that similar things happen in this process. Often, some twin flames feel sorry for their twin wives or husbands, thinking that they are ruining their lives. In reality, the narcissist himself ruined them with his own evil behavior. He had an opportunity, but he didn't take it. He didn't want to change. He didn't want to force himself to change, even though he could have. They choose their own destiny. That is why I believe that if someone is a narcissist, they should not be pitied. It's what they feed on, what they rely on. The longer they are kept in what they want, which is having what they need, the worse it will be for the process. Sometimes it is very difficult to distinguish between a toxic relationship and true love, as toxic behavior is often the case with true twin flames. This is why you should always follow your intuition. Let's learn to look deeper. More often than not, when we look back, we can easily see that the person in question was not right for us initially. Something about them was wrong. It was impossible not to notice. My intuition was telling me that it was probably best not to get into a relationship. But it was so much fun, and the sex was great. Who wouldn't go for that? So we ignore our premonitions and feelings. With twin flames, we learn to see deeper and not just look at appearances. If someone is having a hard time figuring out who their soulmate is, they should consult their intuition about that person. Any feelings of anxiety or stress, even vague ones, should never be ignored.